Hi, my name is Jared, and this is my response to the Pan and Crave articles. First off, I'm going to talk about rhetorical situation and questions for both of them and how I interpreted it. For the Pan article, I thought the audience were the people without enough information that were trying to blame feminists and women for the loss of the American kitchen. And then for Crave, I looked at the audience as people trying to expand their food culture, Americans mainly, trying to inform them what it is they're doing and how they're coming off. For Crave, I thought the claim was that the way that American people are consuming these different types of foods is degrading the culture of those foods and what is going on right now in society with those countries. And the foods really aren't what they actually are. They're Americanized and can be looked at as offensive. For the Pan article, I thought the claim was agribusiness and advertising are at fault for the loss of the American kitchen, not women and feminism. I think the author looked at that as women were the blame for starting to become more independent and getting out of the kitchen and following those roles, and they were catching all the heat for it. The purpose of writing the article for Pan was just to inform people. I think just to inform people on what was happening in society at the time, and it wasn't woman versus the world. They're gonna go take it on themselves. It was just a different time in society where there was a lot of new technology and new advances and opportunities, and people were taking advantage of it, and they didn't have to follow the same rules that they were forced to before the war. And then the purpose for Crave was really just to teach people how to not do that anymore, or to show people how that looks to those cultures and show them what they're doing so they can keep themselves from doing that. What I think the text is saying for Crave is that just because you are trying these other foods that are labeled as potentially, for example, like Asian cuisine, and you're referring to an Americanized dish that really isn't Asian cuisine, and that can be looked at as offensive to that culture. And I think that she's trying to help people not sound so ignorant when they're talking about or exploiting those foods, and trying to help them not associate just those foods with that culture. If the food is not what we're used to, then the culture should not be associated as something bad, or bad because it's different. I think what the text is saying for Pan is, again, the shift in gender roles, getting out of the kitchen and out of the household, was mainly to blame because of the agribusiness and the advertising, showing people like what they can do, like dishwashers and new processed foods that were coming out made it easier for anybody to get in and do that, so women can go and have the same opportunities that they deserve. How this gets out of the classroom, I think this helps people look at how not to fall into those roles or uniformity when they potentially go into a situation where they could run into those types of things. And it shows people that women were not to blame, or feminism either, for causing this shift in the loss of the American kitchen. For Crave, this speaks to how people are generalizing whole cultures based off their cuisine just because of something different. Do I agree with the Crave article? I don't necessarily agree with the whole article. I thought it really generalized all Americans in saying, when we talk about these different cultures and their foods, that we're almost like degrading their culture. I feel that some people don't really find the importance of the authenticity. They just like the taste of that food. And I don't think they're exploiting it or trying to degrade the culture when they're talking about it or posting about it. And then do I agree with Pan? Yes, I do agree that it was just a different time in society. Women were given more opportunities. Women were able to go out and do more, so they did. And the feminist or the woman itself was not to blame for now being able to have the same opportunities. How these two articles relate to each other, they're both they both relate on looking at making Americans really look at themselves, privileged Americans look at themselves and look at what it is they're doing, how they're coming off, how they're sounding, and how they can help like better their intelligence or knowledge of the world, and how they differ. One is more gender roles or informational on why things are the way that they're now, Pan, and then Crave was more about just not sounding ignorant, more intelligence of culture in general. But that is my response to the Crave and Pan.